This is part 2 of the introduction to the Keren Engineering Excellent Formula Checker. In order for the add-in to calculate the output unit, a valid SI unit must be specified for all the precedents of the formula. If a formula is entered with at least one precedent with a valid SI unit, the add-in assumes that the user wants the output unit to be calculated, but it then requires a full set. If some but not all precedents have SI units, such as G1 and G2, when the power calculation at G4 is entered, a message is displayed asking the user to enter a full set of units. Returning to G2 and now doing a Control-Alt-U, we can enter current of amps and the unit of power is correctly output as watts. The requirement for a full set of SI units means that any dimensionless quantities such as Mach number must be labelled with dimensionless. This can be done from any of the discipline groups. Control-Alt-G and go to electrical, select D for D-less and enter, and the label is correctly inserted alongside the quantity. To allow non-technical working on the same sheet, any formula which has precedence without any SI units will be ignored by the add-in. This allows, say, a cost calculation such as G7 to G9 to be included in the sheet without being pestered by the add-in. So I can calculate my total cost here of unit cost times quantity, and there's no output unit from the add-in. The add-in can handle formula inputs as relative cell references such as at B5, absolute cell references and name cells, for instance, by highlighting A1 to B3 and pressing Alt-I-N-C. Excel asks if I want to name the cells B1 to B3 with the text at A1 to A3. When this is done, the cells at B1, for instance, is a named cell with the name mass as noted up here in the box at the top left. The formula at B5 can be written again at B6 using these named cells. So equals mass times length divided by time to the power 2 gives me an error because in fact I have typed in my name incorrectly. It doesn't recognize Tim, but if I correct that to time, then the formula correctly outputs the unit as newtons as it did at B5 where I used relative references. The add-in handles calculations across worksheets in a workbook. So if I add a second sheet to the workbook and at F1 for instance I enter a value with Control Enter that represents electrical capacitance, then Control Alt G to select the electrical group, C for capacitance. The unit of farad is written at G2. I can now enter a formula at F2 equal to capacitance F1 times the voltage on sheet 1 at G1. When I enter that, I correctly get an output unit of coulombs. If I return to sheet 1, I can enter the charge from sheet 2 times the voltage from sheet 1 and I correctly get the work done in joules, the system works across the whole calculation chain. So if I return to G1 and, for instance, change the unit of volts with Control-Alt-P to millivolts, then it reminds me that it's got to go across some sheets. It takes it a little bit longer doing intersheet calcs, but it goes away and it updates the charge at sheet 2, F2, the millicoulombs, and it flows back to sheet 1 and recalculates the work to 1,000 microjoules. As we just saw, the units calculated by the add-in form a continuous chain. This means that to protect the integrity of the chain, the output units cannot be modified or deleted by the user. If this is attempted, for instance at H4, a message is displayed advising the user that these cannot be changed and the unit is reinstated. This protection only works while the add-in is loaded. If the add-in is unloaded while the workbook is still open, a message is displayed requesting the user to protect each sheet. If the sheet is protected, then all the SI units are locked. Upon closing a workbook, to protect against the situation of a user reopening it when the add-in is not loaded, the worksheets are automatically protected and some code is written to the book so that next time it is opened, the user is reminded that they've been password protected and that they should turn on the formula checker before unprotecting. Once the add-in is loaded, all the sheets can be unprotected from a button on the Formula Checker tab. The add-in uses the password when automatically protecting the workbook, but the user can add their own password to any or all sheets before closing, and these are asked for when the Formula Checker tries to unprotect all the worksheets. The add-in protects the output units from normal deletion, but they can be deleted with keystrokes Control-Alt-D for delete. Message is displayed asking for confirmation, and any dependent cells are then tested with the normal requirement that they must all have a full set of SI units, and any dependent units who do not have a full set now have their units deleted.